Donny van de Beek signed for €40 million last summer, but only started 4 Premier League games in the last campaign. So what exactly is going on with Donny van de Beek? Let's find out. So let's go back to his Ajax days, where Donny van de Beek played 18 times as a number 8 for Ajax in his final season, as well as 19 times in the number 10 position. It shows he's versatile enough to get in this United side and play alongside Bruno Fernandes, especially while Paul Pogba is out on the left due to Rashford's surgery. What this would mean, though, is that Donny would have to replace either Fred or McTominay in Manchester United starting 11, which gets to our biggest problem for Donny. United don't have a dedicated defensive midfielder, but we'll come back to that in just a minute. Rumours came out in the summer that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was going to look towards playing a 4-3-3 system at Manchester United, which would in theory allow Donny to play alongside Bruno Fernandes as a pair of 8s in front of a number 6, especially, as we said before, with Paul Pogba playing on the left-hand side. Again, however, this would rely on a new defensive midfield signing coming in and playing the anchor role in behind them, something which as yet has not happened. At this stage, you could say it still seems unlikely that Paul Pogba will sign a new contract. However, it could be possible that Donny is set to replace Paul Pogba in 12 months if he does leave. Although again, that would mean another season on the bench for Donny van de Beek in the meantime. Another option would be to look at what City do with De Bruyne, where occasionally they'll play in the 10, or sometimes he'll play in that free number 8 role, something that we could either do with Bruno and allow Donny to play either as that number 10 or even as a second striker, where he played most of his games for Ajax. And this is where we lead on to our second major problem for Donny van de Beek. Of course, the lack of CDM is a big one, but the other one is he's competing with arguably United's 2 best players in Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes. These are the guys that want to play in the number 8, they want to play in the number 10, and unfortunately for Donny, they just have better numbers than he does. Bruno Fernandes is averaging nearly a goal or assist every single game in the Premier League since he joined from Sporting Lisbon, and Paul Pogba has already got 5 assists this year for Manchester United. Another option would maybe to play a diamond and allow Donny to play alongside Paul Pogba with Bruno in front. But again, that takes us back to the CDM problem, and also United have just signed one of the most promising wingers in the world in Jadon Sancho, and that would immediately mean putting him out of the starting 11. Right, let's get into this main problem then, and we've talked about it before, but it's a huge thing for Manchester United at the moment, and this is that every midfield conundrum relies on us signing a CDM. We currently don't have a player that can do that, which leads to the McFred partnership, duo, tag team, whatever you want to call it, and that has proven itself to be unreliable, and also it's proven itself to take away a ball-playing player from that midfield in order to solidify defensively. If United were to go out and sign a player, maybe Declan Rice, maybe Sal Niguez, who rumours have been circulating recently, this could potentially alleviate that situation and allow Donny to play alongside a deep-line playmaker. This would again allow Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to transition into the aforementioned 4-3-3 that he has rumoured to be interested in this season, but without that, it becomes very difficult to play 3 midfielders who all want to be on the ball, who all want to drive forward, and none of them are looking over their shoulder in terms of their defensive work. It just is difficult to fit Donny in a midfield with Bruno and Pogba when we don't have that CDM. So at the moment, it seems unlikely that Donny is going to be anything more than a 10 to 15 minute man, if that. Solskjaer admitted before the season that he maybe overused Bruno Fernandes, and that would imply that he's trying to rotate him more this season. So Donny, of course, would hopefully be first on that list, surely would be first on the list to come on for Bruno Fernandes, to come on in those games when we need something extra off the bench. Well, unfortunately not, because against Southampton, Jesse Lingard was picked to come off the bench ahead of Donny. Jesse Lingard, who was on loan last season, yes, excelled at West Ham, but wasn't even seen as a part of the squad last season when he went on loan, is still rumoured to maybe leave Manchester United, and he's getting those valuable minutes when we're trying to win games ahead of Donny van de Beek. It just shows where he is in the pecking order at the moment. So the question is then, is Donny happy to be second fiddle to Bruno and Paul Pogba? Well, you would assume not. I don't think he would have joined Manchester United if he was told he'd only start 4 Premier League games last season and then be behind Jesse Lingard in the pecking order this season. You see this a little bit more at Chelsea and City, who do rotate these options, but again, it's easier to sort of put to one side that potential discontent and to stifle that when you're winning things. People are happy to play 25, 30 games, 15 of them as a sub, when you win a Champions League, when you win a Premier League. And even then, we see players like Bernardo Silva and Aymeric Laporte at City sort of saying, you know what, I want to leave if I'm not getting game time. Imagine how difficult that is at Manchester United, where not only do you not play, but you don't have the silverware sitting at home to make up for it. So it seems then that Donny isn't going to be getting in ahead of Pogba, isn't going to be getting in ahead of Bruno. The only way he can get in this team is if he replaces one of Fred, Matic or McTominay. Now let's have a little look at how these systems could work. So first one then is a three-man midfield of Bruno, Donny and Matic. Now on paper, this one makes the most sense. It's got the most balance. You've got Matic who's got that defensive capability. He's good on the ball. It allows Donny to do that number 8 work up and down the pitch, and Bruno of course to thrive in that final third as well. The only problem with this is, and I hate to say it, is that Nemanja Matic is essentially finished at top level football. We know that, we saw that. He barely played for Manchester United last season, and the Southampton game once again highlighted his weaknesses and his lack of energy and mobility in the middle of the park. He's been a great player. If he was 10 years younger, we might have a chance, but at the moment Nemanja Matic cannot be relied on just for the sake of shoehorning Donny van der Beek into the midfield. The next option then is a midfield of Bruno, Donny and Fred, but again, this leads us back to our previous problem. This means that all of the defensive work is put on Fred, which he can't do by himself, hence the existence of McFred in the first place. Yes, Donny will track back, he'll get involved defensively, but he doesn't have the physicality and he doesn't have that, inbuilt ability to cut the lines, to cut the space and to get tackles in that McTominay does. As a combination between him and Fred, we're kind of sick of seeing it, but we know it can be effective, especially in the bigger games against the bigger teams. I'm not sure Donny and Fred can do that between them. That's the only problem there. The next option then would be Bruno, Donny and McTominay, but you have the same problem. You need Fred's industriousness, you need his tenacity, you need his non-stop energy and running in the middle of the pitch and his defensive acumen to help bail out the likes of McTominay and Bruno when they give the ball away, which is part of their job, but you need someone in there behind them, and Donny just can't do that by himself. And finally then, and this one, even though it's the most theoretical, is the most likely to see Donny van der Beek play for Manchester United, and that would be a midfield three of Bruno, Donny and a new defensive midfielder. Now this doesn't have to be an N'Golo Kante type, an Yves Bissouma type where it's all action, all tackles, all diving in, winning the ball back. This could be someone like a Ruben Neves, someone that cuts the lines, doing that Michael Carrick job where, I'm not going to get 10 tackles a game, but what I'll do is I'll stop you passing to the striker, and when I do get the ball back, my distribution can set counter-attacks going. It may be a Sal Niguez who is more in that line where he does up and down, he gets in the box, he can do a bit more on the front foot as well, but defensively he's very sound. This is how we get Donny van der Beek into the team at Manchester United. For me, this is the only way we can get Donny van der Beek into the team at Manchester United consistently. We have to buy a defensive midfielder. Let me know in the comments what you think, because to me, Manchester United's whole season pins on these last few days of the transfer window. If we get a defensive midfielder, we can see, not just for the sake of Donny van der Beek, but for the sake of the whole team, we need solidity in front of the defence. Rafael Varane is great defending towards his own goal. He can use his speed, he can track back very well, but we need someone in front of him providing that solidity, providing those options on the ball as well as off the ball, and a new defensive midfielder has to be top on the list of Manchester United transfer targets. So what are the positives for Donny van der Beek? Well, one of them is that Paul Pogba is playing on the left currently. Now, that is a man in midfield that you would have had to leapfrog to get in that starting lineup. He's moved out the way. You now have a clear shot at his spot. What Donny has to do is take his chance if he gets it. That's going to be the most difficult thing for him. Will he get the chances to be able to prove himself? If he does, he has to do it. He's obviously been working hard in the gym. We've seen him bulk up. We've seen that added muscle, that added strength that he can use in the Premier League, especially this season with the changes in rules. He's going to need that solidity. He's going to need that toughness to get by in the Premier League when he does get his chance. But again, if he wants to work in this team as it is now, he has to take his chances. And again, you want to play alongside Fred, you want to play alongside McTominay, you have to prove you're capable of that. And next thing comes along and let's say Bruno gets an injury or Pogba gets an injury, as Pogba tends to do, you need to be first on the list of replacements. And at the minute, we've seen it against Southampton with Jesse Lingard coming on, Donny isn't quite there. So again, it comes down to taking his chances. it's going to be difficult for him. As we've seen in this video, it's going to be very difficult. The balance in midfield just isn't there for Donny at the minute. He doesn't do the job that Bruno does as well as him. He doesn't do the job that Pogba does as well as him. So he has to fit his way into that midfield another way. And again, he's got to prove himself when he gets the chance, and hope that Manchester United sign a defensive midfielder and bring balance to that midfield. Right, that's going to be all from me. Let me know what you think in the comments to the situation with Donny van de Beek at the minute. It's a tricky one for him. It's going to be very tough to break into this Manchester United team, and at some point, he's going to be looking elsewhere. But I think for this season, he's just got to get his head down and try to make his way into that starting 11. And like I said, while Paul Pogba's on the left, now is his chance. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is Donny van de Beek being treated unfairly, or is he just, as we said before, not quite as good as Bruno, not quite as good as Pogba, and not defensively good enough to play in behind those two? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in a bit.